and we should be live. I'm just gonna give it a minute until I can see you in the chat, but we should be live. And welcome, Roberta. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me properly. We've got about 13 minutes to go, so if any of you were watching this on replay the next few days or weeks, if you wanted to go straight into the tour and skip the hellos, you could skip the next 13 minutes precisely. You can hear me well, perfect. I connected particularly early today because I've got a new phone. Well, new, it's second-hand, but I wanted to check that everything is working properly. Hi, Matthew. You hear an accordion? Yes. It's not me, but yes. And welcome, Anne. Yes, it's thanks to people like Natasha then. Yeah. Hi, Mitzi. Right, guys, just so you know for the future, because I have a new phone, I now have two adapters on my microphone, which is not ideal. There's much more, sorry, it's a bit noisy. There are much more chances of being disconnected at any point. So if at any point you hear wind noises, do let me know in the chat. Because it sometimes happens and people don't complain because they think it's normal. I know a few of my colleagues that do have wind noises. I shouldn't. I've got a professional microphone. So if at any point you hear the wind, it's because it got disconnected. So don't be shy. Any wind in particular, do let me know in the chat, because I've got those two adapters. I've got 3 connections that could go wrong. And actually, let me try something right now. I am gonna tap the microphone. You should be able to hear that because obviously I'm tapping the microphone. If you don't hear it, I'm probably not on right now. So do let me know in the chat. I'm gonna tap the microphone 3 times. Do let me know in the chat if you hear it. 3, 2, 1. Did you hear the tapping? Let me know if you've heard that. If you've heard it, we are all good. I did have a little trial at home earlier. It did work, but hi, Lethargy. So let me know if you've heard the tapping. Yes, Roberta, perfect. So we are all good. Yes, okay. Amazing, perfect. So we are all good. Because those phones, they're getting worse than they used to be, because you don't have a jack anymore. So, and I couldn't even buy a new microphone because somehow Rode doesn't actually do those Type-C yet. There are some other companies that do it, but perfect. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, if at any point in any of my tours in the future you hear the wind, let me know and we can reconnect all that. Hear the tapping. Yes. And welcome, Tessa. Welcome anyone that just joined. We've got 10 minutes to go. And Martin is here. Welcome. And Herbie, nice to see you. So we've got 10 minutes to go. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. If any of you were completely new to me, you're very welcome. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just saying hello for now. I'm waiting for 9 p.m. UK time, and then we'll go for a little live walk in the area and we'll have a look at beautiful Christmas lights. Trying to look at the right spot because the selfie cam is not at the same spot. So earlier on my old phone, I would look right here to make eye contact with you. Now I need to look here to make eye contact with you. So different spots. Not that I make a lot of eye contact anyway through the tour because I'll be flipping the camera around. But everything is slightly different. And I've got to be careful with my cable because it's much longer now. You can probably tell I'm sat on the floor. It was the only spot with a good light, because I tried to have a bit of light on my face for the pre-tour. Welcome, Emma. Nice to see you here. How is your leg or your ankle? You only eat chocolate popcorns. I don't think I've... Oh, chocolate on popcorns. I was gonna say I've not tried the chocolate popcorns yet. I know they exist, but... Eye contact cost extra. Not yet. I'm not... I don't have an OnlyFans or anything like that. You can get some free eye contact. You're still hopping in the boot. Well, we're very lucky with the weather. It's not raining. There were a few drops earlier, but that was it. We won't have the snow like we did 2 years ago, sadly. Well, sadly, for me it's better without. But oh, by the way, some of you, I think it was Laurie that was asking if I could put that video as a premiere or something, you know, the tour from 2 years ago when it was raining a lot. I don't have the video. I forgot, but you know, when Hego stopped, we had 11 days to scoop up our audience and download everything. And I think I've messed up. I had downloaded a video calling it Christmas Lights, but that was actually the Christmas lights in Guérande in France. So then I probably thought I had done it. So actually I don't have it. I never downloaded it. So it is in the past, in the abyss of the internet. We cannot get it back. Which is fine. Lives are meant to be lives. I don't really like to upcycle some old thing. You can't eat popcorn, too much risk on your dental work. Oh, you broke a tooth. Yeah, sometimes when they have not popped properly, they can be quite hard. 11 wild days, yes. Yes, I think the calendar, everything should be turned off by then, I think, but the deco should still be there. Usually for the normal Christmas lights, I think they remove them on the 8th, the morning of, or they turn them off at least on the 8th. So on the 3rd, you still have everything. Winter Wonderland might still be open on the 3rd, so it's still fine. It's gone with the wind, indeed. Oh, no worries, Laurie. You know what? I forgot, but I actually looked last year, and I had realized last year, but then I forgot again, so I looked again. Oh, yeah. Yeah, dental work is very expensive here as well. That's why I go to Hungary. But yeah, popcorn can be a bit risky. Oops. Oh, thank you, Natasha. Cool. Let's see what time it is. 5 minutes to go, guys. 5 minutes. And welcome, Shaz. Welcome anyone that just joined. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. So we'll be making a move in 5 minutes. Hi, Luis. Nice to see you here. And welcome, Lani. It's nice to see a few names I've not seen in a while. And if any of you are completely new to me, let us know in the chat that you are new. It's always nice to have a few new people and to welcome you into the community. I'm probably gonna gracefully stand up. Let's do that now. Oops. There we go. Oh, that's your son's YouTube, okay. Well, nice to have you back. Winter Wonderland closes on the 5th, so yeah, you still have 2 days if you come on the 3rd. We can actually see a little bit of Winter Wonderland from where I am. I'll show you in a sec. And welcome, Marilyn. And down. Nice to see you guys. We've got about 4 minutes to go. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. And Linda is here. Perfect timing. So hopefully it won't be too busy in the streets of London. It was busy when I made my way here, but hopefully they'll start to go home. Oh, we'll be talking about ghosts. Well, quickly, but yeah, there were a lot of ghost stories for Christmas at the time. Let me see. 2 minutes to go. Salut, David. It's great to see so many of you. If any of you are watching this on replay in the next few days or weeks, if you wonder why you never get to see the lives, why you're always watching the replays, the best way to catch me live is to subscribe to the channel and then hit the little notification for everything. This way you get a notification when I go live, so you won't miss them anymore. Your favorite is Jack the Ripper. I should do it again soon. And let's see what time it is. 1 minute to go. 1 minute. Your friends named your crutches Marley and Marley. Yeah, it happens a lot that people watch the replay and they think they're live. To be honest, it's YouTube's fault because they keep the little live logo for a few hours. So sometimes they almost trick you into thinking you're watching a live. So that's why I like to phrase it. So today it is the 16th of December, 9 p.m. UK time. So if it's no longer 9 p.m. UK time on 16th of December 2024, then you're watching a replay. Cool. Let's see what time it is. It is 9 p.m. UK time. Welcome, guys. Welcome to London. Welcome to Mayfair, to be precise. Hello, Helen. And let me flip this camera around without further ado. Let's go. And my pups is here. Nice to see you here. Right, so I am in Mayfair. I'm by the Connor Hotel. I wanted to start here because they have a beautiful Christmas tree. I think we'll see about 4 at least tonight, Christmas trees. But if you look straight in the distance, we were talking about Winter Wonderland. Tarek was talking about it. See, straight down here, that's actually the lights of Winter Wonderland rides. So we are quite close to Hyde Park. And off we go. Let's go and take a look at the beautiful tree. It's different this year. They've had some kind of lanterns, which is quite cool. So this is the Connor Hotel. It's a very fancy hotel. They've got a little fountain here that every so often they do some smoke So they've got some kind of vapors. I don't know how often, because I'm pretty sure, there we go. I'm pretty sure it's the security that he's got a little remote control. I think when he's got a lot of witnesses like me with my camera, then he presses the button. So perfect timing. If it is him, thank you, sir. I don't know if it's just, if it's a guy pressing the button or if it's just random. If it is random, we're just very lucky. So that's quite an interesting fountain. This is not only a Christmas thing, it's always like this. But you never quite know when it's gonna go on. Cool. Let's go down towards Berkeley Square. So we are in Mayfair. We've been here before we've been here on my Monopoly tour, because of course Mayfair is on the Monopoly board, a very expensive area. It is known as Mayfair after the Mayfair. So that was a fair that happened in May in the 18th century and late 17th century. That was a huge fair with a lot of events that people loved, like wife selling. We talked about wife selling before when we were in Smithfield, but basically people could come to the Mayfair and sell their wives. Or you also had ladies foot running. I'm not too sure what ladies foot running might be, but it sounded like a very exciting event. I can only imagine that, back in those days, ladies were not really dressed in very convenient outfit to be able to run, with all those petticoats and those crinolines and all that. So I'm guessing that to go for a run, for foot racing, they'll have to strip down a little bit. So that probably was very titillating at the time. So that's the type of event you could see at the Mayfair. You could also see puppets beheadings. Apparently those puppet shows at the time, sometimes when they came to the end of a show, sometimes they'll do puppet beheading. And it was a game, whoever cut the head was the winner, and so people loved it. So it was a very popular event in this area. So that's how we got the name of Mayfair. I don't even think it started here. I think originally it started by the Haymarket, but then they moved here. A glimpse of an uncle, exactly, Tish. Ooh, exciting. And anyway, let's go down towards Berkeley Square, because we'll go and see the probably one of the most beautiful club ever in terms of decorations, Annabelle's. So that's a very exclusive club. It's not for people like you or I. Well, you maybe, I don't know who's watching, but it's not a club I would frequent. But they always have the best deco. Not only welcome Sarah and welcome everyone that just joined. Not only for Christmas, but whatever it might be, Halloween, Easter, Jubilees, or whatever. They always have the best. And welcome Todd. Always have the best deco. Somewhere on my right here, there used to be the office of the OSS, Office of Strategic Services, I think it was. So the American, the forerunner of the CIA. They used to be based just there on my right. There's a letterbox. Let's see if we have Elizabeth II Regina, so not too old. So Berkeley Square, you might, some of you might know the song. Unfortunately, I'm not the best singer. I cannot exactly play it, but you might have heard it in a song. And there used to be Annabelle, of course, used to be the site of a club, the Claremont Club, that is very much linked to the disappearance of Lord Lucan. Now, I probably shouldn't tell you, so this was the site of the Claremont. They had moved 2 doors down, but this was the original one. Talking about Lord Lucan, did any of you see the new documentary on the BBC that came out last month? I probably shouldn't tell you too much about it right now, because I do want to take you to Belgravia one day and tell you the full story. But did any of you see it? Let me know in the chat. It's about, well, they basically chased down someone in Australia last, it was published last month. Right, there we go. This is the beautiful Annabelles. So they always have the best Christmas deco. Hi, Rose. You saw it, David? Yeah. No? Well, it's quite cool. So this is it. To me, it looks like a peacock in a snow globe. I could be wrong. So that's probably one of the biggest snow globes in London. Although there's not much snow inside, but quite cool. So yeah, when I say very exclusive nightclub, in the at the time of the bachelor party of Prince Andrew, there were two ladies that came in. Well, there were four, but two of the ladies were dressed up as some kind of a police officers. And would you believe they were turned down? Because you don't dress up. They actually have a very strict dress code at Annabelle's. So the two ladies were turned down. Well, guess what? It was actually Fergie and Lady Diana. So they were ever so sorry. So yeah, even Fergie and Diana could be rejected. So beautiful deco. And before we go much further, see the building in black there? That's number 50 Berkeley Square. It is the most haunted house in London. Now I'm not gonna tell you too much details about the ghost story, because I already told you in my Monopoly tour. But it basically was once the residence of a prime minister, and then there was a guy called Thomas Mayer that was rejected on the day of his wedding by his fiancée, and he never recovered. He became a bit of a recluse, and he stayed in a very dirty home that he never washed himself or anything in the home, and he was quite often awake at night, so you'd see his shadow through the windows and stuff. So the house already had quite a bit of a reputation. Some claim that he might have inspired Miss Havisham in Great Expectations, although it's hardly possible, because Dickens would have had to write it in literally just a few weeks. There are quite a few people that might have inspired Miss Havisham. But after Thomas died, the building was the site of quite a few hauntings, very well documented. You know, the Victorian journalists, they absolutely loved haunting cases because it would sell some newspapers. At the time, the vast majority of people believed in ghosts, or they were interested into spiritualism. But you'd have to remember, when it comes to ghost story, because we used to read a lot of ghost stories at Christmas night for some reason. But you know, it does make sense, because that was the very close to the winter solstice. So the night was very long, and they didn't have Halloween quite yet. So actually some of the Christmas traditions, the early traditions, like the Tudor ones, were quite close to Halloween. You know, in Tudor times they had those 12 days of Christmas, and they used to dress up and go and knock at people's door and scare them. They eventually stopped because there were too many robberies. But you know, that's actually quite similar to Halloween. And they had a tradition of telling ghost stories on Christmas Eve. But at the time, you'd have to remember that at night you had no electricity. So you'd light yourself up with a candle or with the fire. That is a light that moves. So the shadows, they move. So it's much easier to have some feeling of somebody being there, or some feeling of a presence or a ghost. I'm not saying that ghosts don't exist. I'm just saying that it's easier to perceive some kind of a feeling of someone being there. with a fire as a lighting. So yeah, the home became particularly haunted and quite well documented. So it's become officially the most haunted home in London. Now, Lord Lucan, I said I don't want to tell you too much, but just to tell you about the documentary, because I think you should watch it. It's quite interesting. So for the ones that don't know, Lord Lucan was an aristocrat that was meant to come for dinner at the Claremont here, never showed up. His wife had been attacked, and the wife's nanny had been killed, and he's very, very, very probably the killer. He probably wanted to eliminate his wife and accidentally targeted the nanny in the dark in his basement in Belgravia. That night he disappeared. He was never ever seen again. So it's been a manhunt for the last 49 years, really. 50 years now, I think. It was in 74. So the last 50 years. No one knows where he is. Some people say he's dead. He died on that night. Some people said he went to South Africa. Some people said he went to Goa in India. It's a huge mystery. But they've released that documentary last month. So basically, Sandra Rivet, the nanny, the murder victim, she had a couple of sons they didn't know because they had been given to adoption way before she died. And her son, Neil, well, he didn't know. It was a young man that was adopted. His mother was dying out of cancer, sadly. And she had said to him, he knew he was adopted, but he didn't really, he didn't really want to look any further. And as she was on her deathbed, she was like, there's a brown envelope. When you're ready, you can look at the brown envelope. And he didn't really, care. And she insisted, she was like, yeah, when you're ready, you look into the envelope. And in the envelope, he had all the information about his birth mother. That was actually Sandra Rivet. So he made it his life mission to actually find whoever killed his mum, Lord Lucan. And I don't want to tell you too much because I don't want to spoil it, but it's a very interesting documentary because the first episode, you get to, well, it's nice to see her son and it's nice to see her former boyfriend and all that. And the second episode, you're like, well, I was like, nah, this is a bit far-fetched. They went and followed the lead that was a bit very, very far-fetched. So basically, there was a journalist that had gone to meet Lucan's brother in South Africa. And on camera, he said, I know nothing. But off camera, he had told the journalist that Lord Lucan had gone to a retreat in India and he had died in 2008. For me, either the brother was lying or telling the truth, but he wouldn't tell the truth about India and lie about the death. Well, I don't know, but so he told the story of they basically chased that lead. So episode 2, I was like, no chance. I mean, this is so far-fetched. And episode 3, you're like, whoa, no way, can it be? I'm not gonna tell you if it was him or not, but it's quite an interesting documentary. Anyway, here is a little portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, because would you believe she was born right here? At her, that was the place of residence of her grandparents on her mother's side, the Earl of Strathmore, I think they were. So she was born right here on Bruton Street. Sorry, just got distracted because there's a black cab that nearly killed a lady. Anyway, I mean, he didn't kill her, but he really much scared her. Anyway, we are now on Bruton Street. We talked about this street not that long ago. There was a horrible, I was going to say Christmas murder. It didn't happen on Christmas, but the body was disposed of on Christmas Eve. You might remember when we were in Farringdon, we talked about poor little Anne Naylord in the 18th century. She She was a young girl from the workhouse that was given to a hatter as an apprentice on this very street here. It's just after 9 p.m. Midge. And so at the time, the apprentice, they were dealt with by the parish. And there's an interesting projection on the floor. I don't know where it's coming from. So they were dealt with by the parish, and it was the trader would get a bit of money from the parish to trade those kids. So they could scam. I'm not even sure where the projector is. I don't see it, but that's cool. So yeah, it was some people were dishonest, and that was exactly the case with that lady, the hatter. She treated the little girl very, very badly. She sadly literally abused her. She was called Sarah Metyard, and she had a daughter that was also called Sarah Metyard, but they called her Sally. She treated the little apprentices absolutely terribly. And one day they had beaten little Anne too much, and Sally was like in front of the other girl. She was like, "Wake up! What's wrong with you? Wake up!" She took her shoe off and she hit the little girl with the shoe. The little girl was probably already dead. And poor Anne, she had her sister as well that was an apprentice. She had tried to escape before. One night she had run off. And then she talked to a milk guy on the street here, and she had explained what had happened. And the milk guy said, go back. And she said, no, I can't go back. They'll kill me. That'll be the end of me. And the milk guy was like, well, go back to the workhouse then. So that's what she did. But the workhouses, they worked with the apprentice owners or masters. So they sent her back. And that's when she was killed. Horrible people, really, the Metyards. And they actually kept her body for a while. So the other little apprentices wouldn't know. She was officially punished upstairs. Every day they would bring her some food just to pretend that she was still alive. And Sarah's sister, she probably very much suspected the truth, and she ran off. She managed to run off successfully. Well, at least we've not heard of her after that. And eventually on Christmas Eve, when all the little apprentices went back to their families for Christmas, the Metyard, Sarah and Sally, they disposed of the body around Farringdon in a place called Chick Lane. The body was found, the body chopped off. Very sadly, at the time, the coroner decided not to investigate because they imagined they were the leftovers of the body snatchers and the anatomist, because that was so close to St. Bart's Hospital. They just imagined that she was a stolen body from the graveyard. Now let me show you. This is, of course, from Chanel. So Chanel has pretty much sponsored the full street. So this is it's New Bond Street. We have Old Bond Street and New Bond Street. And you see the next one, it's like a perfume bottle. So it's Chanel everywhere. So yeah, anyway, those horrible murderers, the Sarah Metyards, they were based on Breton Street, the street we were. And you know how they got caught? So they got away with it for 4 years because they assumed the poor little body was from the anatomist. But 4 years later, Sally, she had married. So she was with a man, and she had been arguing with her mother. And one day they were talking about the case. They were arguing quite bad, and her husband heard it. He heard what they did, so he's the one that went to tell the authorities. So that's how they got caught and hanged finally. Burberry has got quite minimalist. It's funny, it looks like mistletoe, but some kind of almost like if it was glass, like the church stained glass or something. The mistletoe, by the way, the Christmas tradition came kissing under the mistletoe and stuff. It's because, well, we think with the history of Christmas, so this is Louis Vuitton, everything is debatable, but it's probably because of a Norse goddess that her son had been killed with an arrow that was made out of mistletoe. So apparently she decided that she would kiss everyone and anyone under the mistletoe as long as it was never used as a weapon again. So this is Louis Vuitton, but you might already see a lovely reflection. Look at this. This is not Louis Vuitton, it's the reflection. Let me turn around. It is Dior. So we've got Chanel first and Dior. Hold on. Let me show you another little detail from Louis Vuitton. We've got a revolving giraffe. Why not? And they say in French, joyeuse fête. Okay, let me show you Dior. Dior is so bright that it actually looks better in person than in camera. In camera it looks almost a bit too bright. So they've gone very much into the sea life this year. So we've got the seahorses, the starfish, the crabs, the little shells. So they always come up with amazing display, Dior. Last year I think they had, what did they have last year? Oh, they had a balloon, a hot air balloon. Quite similar to Annabelle actually, because Annabelle also had a balloon last year. Nothing says Christmas like a revolving giraffe. Exactly, Herbie. But it's probably an interesting job, you know, to be designing those lights, because you want to be original, right? And there's so much that has been done before. But if you're too original, people are going to be like, what? So it's probably a challenging job. It's nice as well. I'm not even sure that's a Christmas display. That's probably always there. Let me just show you. Well, I show you Churchill and Roosevelt quickly, but I'm just gonna wait for the photo shoot to be done because I don't want to put people on camera. Hey, here they are. So those statues, they've been gifted by the local traders. So they gave it to Westminster Council. I'm gonna make a move because some kids want to take their photos. So we are now going into Old Bond Street. A lot of people just call it Bond Street, but we don't actually have a Bond Street. It's New Bond Street on Old Bond Street. Even on the Monopoly board, it is wrong. They say Bond Street only. It's not. It doesn't exist. It's one of the actually the first street in London that became one-way street, because they had the Royal Institution a bit further down on the other side, and they used to do those lectures, you know, with very important people like Michael Faraday, and they were doing those Christmas lectures for kids actually, and that so many people would come, it would actually block the traffic, so they had to make it one way. Van Cleef & Arpels, it's a nice one. So that's, I think, peacocks with what I think I could describe as some kind of pearls, I think. The peacocks have been quite present because there was a peacock in the snow globe at Annabelle, and a few years back, so when we have the Chanel today, for 2 years we had crowns, like there was actually the Jubilee design, and before that we had huge peacocks as well. So we often have peacocks. Not sure why. Do we have a link between peacocks and Christmas? I don't know.
Look that way.
Anyway, this is Graf. This is a jeweler that had one of the most shocking. This car is well decorated as well. They had one of the most shocking robbery ever. The second largest in terms of price. I think it's like 40 millions. 2009, 4 p.m., 4:30 in the afternoon. You had two. We'll see the car a bit later. So yeah, we had two young men that got into Graf. They were face exposed and everything. They were not covering their faces. One of them was wearing some gloves, which, to be honest, is a bit odd. But you know, people are so rich around here. Some of them are a bit extravagant, you know, in terms of what they're wearing. So the sales assistant did not really worry. They got inside. They asked the sales assistant to show them some items on display. Then they got their guns out and they left with 40 items, a value of, I think it's 43 millions they took. They jumped into a car. They had an accomplice. His name was Thomas. His parents probably hated him. When your last name is Thomas, why do you call your son Thomas? Oh, we can see me. Hello. So yeah, he had a guy called Thomas that was in a van. So the van blocked the traffic. So the police actually took a while to arrive at the scene. And then there was a bit of a chase. They ran into another car and a black cab. There was a little accident with a cab as well. And then they made a mistake. After that little collision, they dropped a burner phone. And that's how the police got their contact. Now, the reason why they could go with their face completely exposed, it's that they had been to Covent Garden to see a makeup artist that was working for the movies. So they were doing amazing makeups with latex and stuff. They said they were filming a video clip and they wanted to look 12 years older. And that worked. One of them said actually at the makeup artist, they were like, oh, even my mum wouldn't recognize me. So that's why they could go with their faces exposed and they were not scared of CCTV or anything because no one could recognize them. They've just turned it off. Oh, cool. Yeah, I didn't even know it moved. I mean, not that much. So this is Cartier. Perfect timing. I did not even see the beginning earlier. I didn't realize we had music. So they've gone all in with some kind of a solar panel with jewelry box. Yeah, it's probably every half an hour, maybe every 15, I don't know. But yeah, amazing. Because I think I've seen it twice this year, but never was here at the right time. Anyway, to get back to our jewelry robbers, they were very young. They were, the main one was called Kayane, he was 23, I think. And they were arrested. They lived at their parents and stuff. Thomas, apparently, when the police arrived, he climbed into it like, you don't need to do this. We've not killed anyone. No one was hurt. You don't need to do this. It is true that no one was hurt, but you know, the young sales assistant, she could suffer from post-traumatic disorder and stuff like that. So, you know, and the jewels were never recovered. Some people say it was an inside job, but that's probably not true because the insurance company didn't give them the full money. Anyway, Ralph Lauren, they have this amazing tree. It's actually for charity, for the Royal Mars, and it's a cancer charity. So if you want a little star with your name, you'd have to make a donation. And where did you see Paddington? Oh no, I'll show you. I think I think it looks a bit like Winnie the Pooh, but it's not. I think it's just a random teddy bear. I don't think it's meant to be anyone at Boodles. Oh, you mean here? Oh, I didn't know this one. Yeah, I think it's just a Ralph Lauren bear. Yeah. Sorry, I was looking. You're talking about this, and I'm looking at the other side of the street. But there's another bear there. So yeah, if you make a donation over £15, you can have your name on a star, and then the benefits, of course, would go to the Royal Marsden charity. So that's a great little idea to raise some money. Anyway, let's go. Oh, I've missed this one earlier. We've got another bear. Cool. Let's always have a piece. Thank you, bear. Let's look at Tiffany's. So Tiffany's is here. Maybe not the most original. So I'm just smiling because there was a lady filming from the cab, so she was filming us. Oopsie. You like the dancing bear? Yeah, so do I. I missed it. I missed him earlier. I didn't notice him. Let's just cross over so you can see a bit of the Royal Arcades. It's here that they used to have the Gentleman's Club where Oscar Wilde got in trouble because the Marquis of the Marquis of what? You know, his father-in-law. The Marquis of well, anyway, his father-in-law left him a note that he was a sodomite, and he decided to report him, which was a huge mistake, because of course we know how it ended up. Then the Marquis had to prove that Wilde was indeed doing some homosexual acts. And Oscar decided to fight it instead of just running away and go to Paris straight away, where it was not illegal. He ended up doing some hard labor. Oh, we've got a little Christmas cracker here. We'll talk about the crackers in a moment. Now, it's a shame because it's all beautiful and stuff, but then you've got a lot of rubbish on the floor. People don't care. So let me show you the Chanel one a bit better. So the full street, the full New Bond Street and Old Bond Street, you've got this Chanel thing. That's probably good. This way the council doesn't have to pay for them. It's sponsored by Chanel. Oh yeah. So let's go down towards Piccadilly. So we'll go and take a quick look at Fortnum&Mason, but of course we've seen it only a few days ago, so we're not gonna spend too much time down there. Matthew, I probably will. I'll see. So for the ones that don't know, Matthew is talking about the copyright claims. It's quite difficult to tell because sometimes you get a copyright claim for like a few seconds or something that is far away in the background, and sometimes, like when I was in Sicily, you might remember about a year and a half ago now. Oh no, just a year ago. That's when I went to Yeah, just over a year ago, I did a tour in Sicily. There was music everywhere. I really couldn't run away. And I had no claim whatsoever. So I don't know if maybe they've relaxed a little bit their algorithms on the live. Because when you are live, how can you know, if you do a video, you could avoid it. But when you do a live, you know, if people are playing music next to you, what can you do? Anyway, another one here that's quite cool. The beers. I don't even know the brand, the beers. Jewelry, I think. If that's how it's pronounced. The beers. Oh, it's cute as well. Some of those brands, they must have such a huge budget for their Christmas decorations. I mean, the very popular one like Cartier or Annabelle's, I guess it's a good investment because then so many people probably take photos and videos and post them on Instagram or even YouTube like myself. So that's probably a great advertising for them. But yeah, I don't even dare to imagine how much is their Christmas light budget. It's probably huge.
There's like these two girls, they're just like in all these
Oh, Susanna probably missed it earlier. Not sure why. Oh, maybe when we talked about blood donation, I probably missed it earlier, Suzanne. Sorry. And let me show you the Burlington arcades. I'm just gonna pop the phone through the railings, bear with me. So this is the lovely Burlington arcades. It's a little, one of our earliest shopping malls, really. Don't know if you can see, but it's not flat. It's actually going up a little bit. They did not want to have any stairs. Oh, I read it wrong, Susan. I was like, what are we talking about? Sometimes when, when you read the chat, you don't have time to read everything properly. So the Burlington arcades, they have been created by a gentleman that officially wanted his wife to be able to shop close to home and in a safe place, and also because he didn't want people to they kept trashing his garden with oyster shelves, so that's why he built that in I think it's 1880 in the Burlington arcades. And they had their own private security. They had a beetle, so there were some kind of private police to stop people from doing quite a few things. Even still today, there are something you are not allowed to do in the arcades, like carrying a big parcel or whistling, because at the time there were a lot of pickpockets, and when the police arrived, they'll whistle to tell everyone to go. So you're still not allowed to whistle in the Burlington arcades today. And at some point it was full of sex workers above the shops. Anyway, this is the beautiful Fortnum and Mason. We'll go and take a quick look at the beautiful window displays, but most of you were with me less than a week ago. We've already seen them, so we won't stay here too long. And I shouldn't cross, but let's do this anyway. So they also always have some amazing window displays. And this year you've got mice everywhere. You've got those tiny little mice that are very cute. And I love my foxes. And even the foxes, they always have a little mouse somewhere. So this one is doing his nail varnish, and this one, I think she's fixing his teeth or something. He must have had a cavity, or I don't know what she's doing, just dancing maybe. And we've got a couple of hares here. this I've just realized, I think it's the roof of Fort Newman Mason. So yeah, I think it is. Laurie, what happened to the fox at the palace? Do you mean Majesty, the little fox that was at Clarence's house? Yeah, flossing. Well, you know what? I think he might have just done a comeback. Like a week and a half ago, I saw a fox in Clarence's house that was literally jumping on a building. He jumped like 2 meters up. So I don't know if it's my Majesty that came back or if it's a different fox, but I think it's probably Majesty because he was out at daytime like Majesty used to be. If some of you have no clue what we're talking about, 2 years ago I had a little fox at Clarence's house that would come and say hello to my customers through my tours, and he had disappeared in September 2 years ago. I don't know, I never knew what happened to him. How little is Majesty now? So he probably is an adult now. But they live, I think their average life expectancy, I think it's 14 years. Maybe not so much in London, I don't know, but so yeah, Majesty could very well still be alive, so it could be the same. I think they're quite territorial, the foxes, but he might have just gone away and come back. Anyway, let's start talking about the Christmas traditions, because we've not covered any of that yet. So today, a lot of people often talk about the Christmas we know today as being Victorian, and it is true. Oh, thanks ever so much, Natasha. That's greatly appreciated. It is true that a lot of the tradition we have today have been amplified in Victorian times. And it is true that before Victorian times, Christmas was not even a bank holiday. People would have to go to work and stuff. And because of the Industrial Revolution, of course, you could produce a lot of little gifts or little decorations for the trees and stuff like that. But a lot of it is much older. And I'm sure a lot of you know that originally Christmas is very much of a pagan tradition because it was the time of the winter solstice. And there are a lot of tradition that we don't even really question much, like the stockings. Why do we have socks everywhere at Christmas time? Why do we put chocolates into socks or money into socks? Or where does that come from? And well, there are two theories behind the Christmas stockings. The most obvious one, it would be because of Saint Nicholas. So Saint Nicholas, some of you might know, he really existed. So it was a gentleman in Turkey, at the time of the Roman Empire. He was in Anatolia. We talked about him very briefly when we were in Turkey 2 weeks ago. So Saint Nicholas really existed, and he became a saint because he actually performed a couple of miracles. And he allegedly saved 3 ladies from prostitution. They were very poor. Their father couldn't pay for a dowry. And they would have ended up selling their bodies. And what he did is apparently at night, he came and put a few gold coins in their stockings. So that saved them from prostitution. Saint Nicholas still today is the saint patron of children and prostitutes. And so that could be where the stocking came from. But there's another theory that's quite interesting as well. Let's go down this way so you see a bit of Piccadilly. Back in the day, the chimney was of course useful, but it was a bit scary as well, because that was basically an entrance into your home that was unguarded. People could get in. You could close your door, but you couldn't close your chimney. And apparently in Serbia and Greece, they were kind of scared of those little spirits, like kind of nasty little goblins that could enter through your chimney. So they would burn some stinky socks or even sometimes some old stinky shoes, or they would just put their stinky socks there by the chimney, so it would be unbearable for anyone to come in. So that could be where it came from. And some people, there's another theory that's quite a bit bonkers really, but some people believe that those socks would have been used to dry some magic mushrooms. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little while. Yes, Nick, I've heard of Romeo that climbed all the way to the shard and did not want to go down. Yes. Yeah, I think they still sell little magnets and keyrings of Romeo at the attraction up there. Now let me give you another good angle on Regent Street, and then we'll start going down. So those are probably the most famous Christmas lights in London. They've been here for many, many years. And let's go down to Piccadilly. I mean, Piccadilly Circus. We were on Piccadilly Street earlier. Now we can go PayPal. See the advert for PayPal? Oh, it's gone now. So those are some of the most expensive. Oh, this is PayPal, yeah. See what they do with the commission. When you give me a tip on PayPal me, they take their 15% or whatever, and then that's what they do. They buy some very expensive advertising on Piccadilly. This is probably the most expensive advertising in London. Anyway, so yeah, Piccadilly Circus. The name Piccadilly came from Piccadilles. There were some those huge neck collars that people used to wear in the 17th century, for example. There was a guy called Robert Baker that used to produce those amazing Piccadilles, and he lived there on Piccadilly. So it became known as Piccadilly Hall, and eventually it became Piccadilly. And Piccadilly Circus because in Latin that would be a circle, because it used to be a roundabout. Now let me give you another angle here with the underground sign and the light, and then we'll go down towards Waterloo Place. That's quite a cool angle with the underground and the bus and the police telephone box. Right, let's go down. So the stockings, we talked about the stockings, but we didn't mention the tree. The Christmas tree, a lot of people would tell you that it's actually Prince Albert that brought the tradition from Germany. That's not quite true. Prince Albert popularized it because they had a famous photograph with the family, with Queen Victoria and stuff, when the tree was being seen. So they kind of popularized the Christmas tree. Natasha is asking, what's the best place to leave me a tip? Natasha, I would say it's completely up to you. I think PayPal is the easiest for me because it goes straight into my account and I've got a PayPal credit card. But I don't mind it if you do it on YouTube, because although they take a bit more commission, I think it's an investment. I think YouTube algorithms, they're gonna prioritize videos and content that generate some income. So really, even if I get a little bit less, I think it's a bit of an investment in the future. So don't worry, whatever is more convenient for you. So yeah, the Christmas trees, we often think it's Prince Albert. Actually, it's very probably Queen Caroline, the wife of George II. The Christmas trees were already very popular in Germany and in Alsace in France, but that used to be Germany at the time. Because back in the 16th century, they used to have Adam and Eve trees with the forbidden apple and stuff. So eventually, it became the Christmas tree. Oh, and let me show you something. Do we know what that is? Don't tell me a sex toy. Have you seen those before? They were actually quite popular in Victorian times. Nowadays, I think you only see them in Germany. But that's a Christmas pickle, or gherkin, we'd probably say here. Apparently, in Victorian times, they used to have a Christmas pickle on the tree. So when the kid that spot the pickle first would be the first one to open his gift, or sometimes he even had a little more gift. And the a green caterpillar. The pickle, they have a couple of different possible origins. Oh, thank you, Matthew. That's very nice of you. One of them is quite interesting. So if we go back to Saint Nicholas, so he's known for a few miracles. One of them is a bit crazy, really. But there was a story of 3 little boys that went running in the forest and stuff, and they got lost. They couldn't find their way homes, and after all the exercise through the day, they became very hungry. There was an old butcher there, so they decided to go and ask the old butcher for a little bit of charity, a little bit of food, so they would have the energy to go back home and save themselves. Apparently, no, Heroes was above the little screens. We just didn't stop because they've got this little installation. Although it's not really Eros, it's Anteros, but everyone calls him Eros. Anyway, so yeah, those little boys, the butcher, he actually killed them. And he put the bodies into a barrel of vinegar. He actually pickled them. So the boys were missing. The parents suspected the butcher, but they couldn't do anything. And apparently Saint Nicholas went to visit the butcher. He went to the back, he opened the barrels, he found the dead little boys that had been pickled, and he brought them back to life. So that's of course a little myth, but that could also be linked to the pickles. Right, let me flip this camera around. I just stopped here because we've got a little surface that is cool to pop you down, because I want to show you the Christmas crackers. So that's a tradition that's very British. You wouldn't find those in France, for example. Although we never know nowadays, because a lot of the traditions nowadays, Christmas is becoming the same everywhere nowadays. When I lived in France, we never had Christmas jumpers, for example, because they were, we just found them ridiculous. When I went to France 3 years ago in December, I saw a lot of Christmas jumpers. I was like, what's happening? What has changed? So the traditions are kind of mixing from one country to the other now. But this is a Christmas cracker. So if you've not seen them before, that's of course what we, well done, Saint Nick, yes. That's what we put on the dinner table. The guy that created them, Tom Smith, was a confectioner in the 1840s, and he had actually copied the French bonbon. In Paris, they used to sell those little bonbons. The packaging looked the same, and Tom Smith was actually selling coated almonds. And he decided to copy the packaging, but that didn't quite do it yet. And allegedly, the story might have been very much romanticized, but allegedly one day he was sat next to the fire when he heard the crackles of the fire, and he was like, that's what I need a crack. That's the story that has been probably a bit romanticized. We know his brother was a magician, a stage magician, so it's probably his brother that helped him. Anyway, you put them on the table and then you crack them. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Here. So whoever has the longest string is the winner. So let's see what's inside. I don't think I have a gift in those. I think they are the cheap one, but I should have a crown. So this is my crown. And a joke, or a little did you see the joke flying away? I don't have a joke. No, there it is. Okay. So I've got a little maze if you want to play. Now, let's see. For once I get it. Why do you never see Santa in the hospital? Let's see if any of you have the answer. Let's start going. I'm gonna bin everything. So why do you never see Santa in the hospital? Santa Claus, Tish. Why do you never see Santa in the hospital? Let me know in the chat if you get it, otherwise I'll tell you. Because he's busy with the hose. No. I'll tell you. Because he's got a private healthcare. Healthcare. There you go. There's a charade as well, but let's see. It's a bit dark. Let me flip this camera around. You don't need to see my face anymore. Oh, we don't need a charade. I never get them anyway. Let's go. Sometimes you have a little gift as well, but this was a cheap one. But that one was a proper cracker because there was a little bang. So don't buy them to bring them back to America or anywhere, because technically they're classified as fireworks. Because there's a little bit of there's a bit of a bang, you know. There's a bit of the thing you have on the matches. So yes, healthcare, exactly. Healthcare. So they are technically you're not allowed to take them with you on a plane. So yes, sometimes you have a little gift as well, and a little charade, and a crown. So when you have the longer string, you're meant to wear the crown. And they are still very popular here. Pretty much everyone would have them on the dinner table. Even when you have Christmas parties with your companies, you know, your work colleagues and stuff, you very often have them on the table. That's where I got mine, actually. Took it from a Christmas party. Let's go and see another Christmas tree. And the fake Santa Claus is gone. There was a fake Santa earlier. Well, I know they are all fake, but that one is, it's a guy that charged you to take photos, and he definitely doesn't have the permissions from the council. So he's an illegitimate Santa Claus. So he's gone home now, probably because the kids are in bed by now. This is actually my favorite of the Christmas trees in London, because it's the one that has the most light on it. It's not the biggest one, but it's very, very bright. Now, we've talked about the crackers, we talked about the tree, we talked about everything but the Christmas cards. The Christmas card, it's also very British and American, I guess, but it's not something we'll do on the continent. Well, at least it's not something we'll do in France. I cannot speak for the full continent, but the Christmas cards, they were basically created after the stamps, the penny stamps were created. Before the 1840s, when you sent a parcel or a letter, it's actually the receiver that used to pay. And that would depend on the distance and all that. And in I think it's 1840 precisely, they created the penny stamp. Let me show you the first penny stamp. I've got one in there. So that's the first one with Queen Victoria. That's why the United Kingdom is the only country that doesn't need to put the name of the country on a stamp, because they've invented it. So with the penny stamp, anyone could send a letter for a decent price. You know, that'll cost you a penny, and that was it. And there was a gentleman called Sir Henry Cole you might remember him because we've seen his home. When I did a little video in Sheer, we've seen his home. So Sir Henry Cole, he decided to commission an artist to do some illustration of his family. So they were at the dinner table, and on the side there was an illustration of Charity, and he actually got a bit of bad feedback because the kids have some glass that looks like wine. So some of the teetotalers on the temperance movement, they had a go at him. But basically he produced a lot of those cards, and he had a lot of them printed, and he sent them to all his families and relatives. And then that became a very popular thing to do. So those Christmas cards became very popular, especially from the 1860s, because then they did the half penny stamp. So they became even cheaper. Now today our Christmas cards, they're quite cute and everything, but in Victorian times they were often very creepy. Let me show you a couple of examples. Well, I've got quite a few actually, because I find them very creepy. There you go. Nothing says Christmas like a murdered frog, or a melting snowman. So yeah, those are very creepy, but you'd have to remember that, let me show you some more. That's quite creepy as well. At the time, you know, the creepier the better, or the more shocking the pictures would be, the better, because people would expose them at home. You know, they'll put them on their chimney or anywhere. And then their friends or their visitors would be like, oh, that's a funny one, who sent you that? So then the more shocking images you'd send, the more people would talk about you, basically. Let me show you some more. I've got quite a few because I find them fascinating. That's so creepy. Why not? Oh, you thought I was an old shepherd? I don't know. I thought I was a snowman, but maybe not. Let me show you some more. I've got quite a few. Nothing says Christmas like a dirty old clown having a pie, or a little girl coming out of a pie. Merry Christmas, haha. That's a bit like Sweeney Toady, isn't it? Yeah, Victorians were weird people. Let me show you some more. I need to press. Let me show you one more. Why not? A dead bird for Christmas card, or a kid boiling in a teapot. I mean, sometimes you're like, what? Where do they get those ideas? Yeah, the dirty old clown looks a bit like the, you know, the American serial killer that dressed up as a clown. What was his name? Anyway, let me show you some more. Santa Claus in a snowball. Why not? Those ladies are being very naughty to poor Santa. And that Santa, I don't know what he's doing to the little kid, but that doesn't seem right to me. That seems a bit dodge. Oh yeah, they would. Not all of them would be creepy. Yeah, they'll have some lovely ones as well. Now that Santa Claus kidnapping a child, it was Santa, but he looks a little bit like someone else. He looks a little bit like the anti-Santa Père Fouettard in France. or Spanky in the US. The anti-Santa, let me show you the anti-Santa. This is Krampus, that's in Central Europe. In France, we had an anti-Santa that was called Père Fouettard. Let me show you Père Fouettard. There he is. So that is Père Fouettard. Père Fouettard was the guy that would punish you. And still my generation, when I was a kid, my mother didn't really tell me about Santa Claus. She thought if she made me believe in Santa, and then she told me it wasn't true, then I would not believe in God either. Which, to be honest, I get it. She's the one that told me about Jesus. So yes, exactly, the whipping Santa. So Père Fouettard, it would literally translate by whipping father. Let me remove Père Fouettard from the screen. So the story behind the anti-Santa, it's actually quite interesting. So Santa Claus, well, I suppose I have to explain a bit more of Santa Claus before. Santa Claus is pretty much straight line. Well, actually, some people would argue the history of Santa Claus is quite vague. Some people don't believe that Father Christmas and Santa Claus were actually the same guy. Some say that Father Christmas is a bit more pagan-y and that Santa Claus was a direct evolution of Saint Nicholas. So we'll go with that theory. What happened with Saint Nicholas is that it used to be a saint, and we used to celebrate him on the 6th of December, when it's actually Saint Nicholas. So the kids being well behaved, the gifts, that would have been on 6th of December. But of course we had the Reformation in Europe. In the 1500s, in Germany, people decided to stop idolizing those saints and to go with a more cleared up form of religion, let's say, and to stop with the Pope and all that. So we stopped with the saints. So they decided, the Protestants, to have the gift coming with baby Jesus. So to have the gift for the children that were well behaved coming on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, depending which country you live in. So then what with the naughty kids? Because Saint Nicholas, he used to be rewarding the good kids, but also the punishing the naughty kids. They couldn't possibly have baby Jesus punishing the naughty kids. So that's how the anti-Santa came along. In France, I say France, but it's actually Metz. So at the time it was Germany. So they literally used, the story I told you about the bad butcher? Well, they used that bad butcher that allegedly Saint Nicholas would have taken him with him to punish the bad kids. So the Père Fouettard is pretty much a straight evolution of the naughty butcher that had killed those kids. But in some countries they went with Krampus or with different versions of the anti-Santa. But that's how he came in the picture, apparently. Although it's very much debatable. Everything about Santa Claus is debatable, really. We very much used of the picture of having him in red and white. Father Christmas actually was often represented in purple back in the day. And some people, and some fairly serious people, believe that Santa Claus was actually a shaman that was delivering drugs, magic mushrooms. It is a bit far-fetched, but there's a very serious professor at Harvard University. He's actually in charge of the herbatorium, or he was at the time, I don't know if he still is, but he's in charge of the herbatorium at Harvard. His name is Professor Donald Pfister. he strongly believes that Father Christmas was inspired by the Siberian shaman. And they were indeed wearing red and white, and those shamans, they would have potentially delivered some magic mushrooms for Christmas, for the winter solstice. Now I know it sounds a bit far-fetched, but those red mushrooms, they're called amanita, I think they're called. You know, the red ones with the little white dots. They are toxic to humans, but reindeers, they use them, they eat them. And apparently, if you drink, this is serious, I'm not kidding, if you drink the reindeer's urine, the bad toxin has already been digested, so you actually only get the hallucinogenic effects. So some people said that people would drink reindeer piss to get high. I wonder if that's the origin of the phrase getting pissed. Probably not. But so that's actually serious. Some people actually think that might be the case. And you know, Santa is coming through the chimney. But you know, when you have a yurt in the snow, the doors are almost fully covered by the snow. You have an entrance at the top. You know, you have like a chimney. They have the fire going out at the top. So that's actually the easiest entrance to come from the top of the yurt. And those red mushrooms, they grow at the bottom of the pine trees. You know, those evergreen trees. And that's exactly where we put the gift today. Some even believe that those socks were there to dry the mushrooms, because apparently when they are dried, they're still toxic, but you can have them if you want the hallucinogenic effects. Why is Santa flying on a sleigh? Maybe he's just high. So that's yes, it is Trafalgar Square, Tina. We'll go and take a look at the tree. So yes, some people believe that he might have been a Siberian shaman. Who knows? It is possible. I mean, it was, it was a pagan party. It was the winter solstice, and I mean, it's always been a bit of a tradition to get a bit intoxicated for Christmas. So why not? Anyway, let's go and take a look at the tree. That's the smallest police station in London. That was for the police officers one at least, to come inside. Trafalgar Square, it's a place of gathering for good or bad. So if we have anything to celebrate, like I don't know, if we won the World Cup, we'll celebrate here. But if you have a protest as well, you very often protest here. So that's why they had a need for a little police officer on site. You love my theories? Well, it's not mine. It's a professor from Harvard. But I think there's something there. So this is the National Gallery, of course, in the background. And that tree is gifted every year from Norway, because they want to say thank you to Britain for helping them through the Second World War, when we hosted the Norwegian royal family here. And so every year they cut a huge tree from Norway. Usually the Lord Mayor of Westminster goes to cut it off as well. The tree has received a bit of criticism in the last few years, because it used to be a little bit greener than it is today, but I like it. Not my favorite. It's much taller than the others, but it's not as green as the little one we've seen earlier. For example, it reminds you of the gherkin. Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's actually a Christmas pickle to remember the pickled boys. But yeah, lovely tree, and it's great that they keep on the tradition, so many years later. So it's great to still have it there. And let me show you the little nativity. Good. I've just been spotted by the security, but I've not been told off, which is great, because technically it's one of the places where they could ask me to stop filming. So lovely little crib here, nativity. Some of you, I think it's Linda, the other day you asked about this. For example, this would not be allowed in France anymore. No more nativity in the public square or anything like that. In private, of course, as many as you'd like. Most Catholic French families, they'll have a little nativity at the foot of the tree. When I was a kid, in mine, I had 2 baby Jesus. Every year, I had 2 baby Jesus. When my nan would come on visit, she'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go and see the twins." What happened is that the first baby Jesus was made with some kind of clay, and I was very small. I would have been like, I don't know, 6 or 7. And I broke him. I actually broke his arm by accident. And my mum bought a new one, but she bought a plastic one, so I wouldn't break him. And she wanted to bin the first one. And I refused to bin baby Jesus, just because he was slightly disabled. So every year I had 2 baby Jesus in my nativity. Those boys are mocking me, but they don't even have the balls to look at the camera. Anyway. Let me show you the Hotel de Ville. Yeah, that would be the city hall, the Hotel de Ville. But at the city hall now, you cannot have the nativities anymore, even in a shopping center. So that's technically private. You know, it belongs to the business. Now you're not allowed. But to understand it, you'd have to remember that in France, you cannot go to school, a public school, with a headscarf. You cannot walk on the street with a full burqa. So if you ban signs of religion for one religion, you have to do it for every religion. So, you know, you cannot go to a public school with a Christian cross. Like, you know, it's fair enough, you know. Not that I agree, but you know, it's fair. If you do it for one religion, you have to do it for all of them. Yeah, Nick, it's quite new. It's been about maybe 4 years. I mean, you still have them in private places or in churches, but it's a bit silly. But I think they wanted to go deep into, you know, the secularism. If you forbid some Muslim tradition, you have to do it with everyone. Otherwise, it's just not fair. So. Well, Suzanne, according to our politicians, no, not anymore. I mean, I'm not fighting to have them back, you know. I don't mind, but yeah, it's interesting, let's say. Anyway, let me show you a last little view of there's a bit of a Christmas market here, but I purposely scheduled the tour after the market because I didn't want it to be too busy. And then I would maybe lose the signal or anything, so I purposely scheduled it right after it closed. Christmas themes from pagan tradition. Yeah. Why do they decorate at all? Well, I mean, you know, nowadays Christmas is also very much a commercial event as well as a religious one, so you couldn't skip the full amount of money coming from Christmas, I guess. Will I go to Covent Garden at all? No, Linda, because remember we've been there on Halloween and they were already the Christmas decos were already there last time we've been, so I thought there's no need to go back. Oh, Jim, this one is very, very small. We have a much bigger one at Winter Wonderland, of course. This one is just a few stalls. And nowadays, they all pretty much sell the same thing anyway. So, you know, it's no longer very original. there's one thing we didn't mention that's quite British as well. It's the pantomime, of course. At Christmas time, you have a lot of great Christmas pantos. So there are some kind of musical plays, theatre productions with a lot of characters cross-dressing. Queen Elizabeth II was in the pantomime when she was young. She played Aladdin, so that's very much a Christmas tradition as well. Anyway, let me know in the chat if you have any questions before we go. If not, thank you very much for coming today. It's always a pleasure to have so many of you on board. You love going to a panto, yes. And I'll be scheduling tomorrow some tours for the next few weeks. Don't worry, there's nothing scheduled yet, but it's just because it was a bit complicated to organize. Are Christmas markets different in the EU countries? No, they're all very similar now. And a lot of the Christmas markets anyway are imitating the German ones. So yeah, they're quite similar. I've never been to a Christmas market in Germany. I should one day. I've never been to one in Alsace either, because I think they have some lovely ones in Strasbourg or Colmar, all those areas that are quite close to Germany, and that were once, of course, German. But I've never been there either. Cool. Thank you all for coming. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions before we go. If any of you dropped me a little tip on PayPal or buy me a coffee, that's very, very much appreciated. It is thanks to your generosity that I can keep going and keep doing more research and on all that. Thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Rosemary. Thanks, Jin. Thanks, everyone, for joining. If any of you were completely new to me, or if you are just not subscribed, you might want to subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on the fun next time. And if you wanted to be notified whenever I go live, you can hit the little notification thing under the subscription to make sure that you get which way do I prefer? I think you're talking about the tips. Any way that's convenient for you. Honestly, it doesn't make a huge difference. I would say whichever is best. Thank you, Poppy. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Shaz. Thanks, Todd. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'll see some of you next week. It's not scheduled yet, but we've got more tours coming. And if I don't see you, have a very Merry Christmas. And I'm sure I'll see most of you before New Year's anyway. Thanks, Laurie. Thanks, Roberta. Thanks, Lani. Do you have someone with me? No, I'm alone. I'm alone. I don't like to have anyone with me. I've done a few when I was abroad with my sister in the back. But if you have someone behind you, they never know when you're gonna flip around. So sometimes they end up being in the frame. So I don't like to have anyone with me. It's very distracting, really. So, yeah. Cool. Thank you, guys. Have a great one. Lovely to have you along as usual. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.